Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm FiddlinJonny, and before we get into our magic product review, let's do a quick fiddle tune this morning. Alright, that tune is called Drowsy Maggie. Alright, great fun little tune there, but you know, you're probably not here for the fiddle tunes. I know that you're probably here for the magic product review. And today we're going to review Backfire by R. Paul Wilson. Not a brand new release, been out for maybe, I think, a year, something like that. Anyway, it's one of those products I want to make sure is on your radar screen and checking out. So anyway, stick around and we'll get right into Backfire by R. Paul Wilson. Thanks everyone for being here. You know I really appreciate it, or I hope you know that I really do appreciate you being here and watching these reviews, and I hope they are really helpful for you. All right, R. Paul Wilson's Backfire. What is R. Paul Wilson's Backfire? This is a trick or an effect where you pull from your deck 4 kings and 4 aces. And what you do is you'll have your audience members have a silk that you sort of use as your platform or your stage. And you're going to take the 4 aces and put the 4 aces face down on top of that silk. And what you do from there is one at a time, take each one of the kings and put them underneath the silk, only to have it pulled back out and have it like that turned into one of the aces, essentially transpositioning one of the kings from the top, one of the aces that are face down through the silk. Again, you do this in repetition with each one of the 4 kings, and each one after you put it out underneath the silk and return it, it has now become one of the aces. The kicker for this is that the assumption is that all of the 4 aces that were face down must now be all the 4 kings. And just as you turn over the 4 kings, or what would be believed to be the 4 kings, aren't the 4 aces, and you reveal in your hand that it's reset already and that you have 4 kings, the original sort of where you started from in your hand. So really cool effect. The happens so fast. It's a quick visual change of cards. So the effect is really awesome. If you're saying, hey, this sounds familiar, well, you are right, because R. Paul Wilson released, I think maybe a decade ago, another release that was called a Ricochet. So this is essentially an update to his Ricochet, and Ricochet was based upon a Paul Harris routine that was called Reset. And all this, of course, is inspired by a Ryan Swigart routine. So it has a long history of inspiration, variations, and where it comes from. And I think Paul Wilson does a nice job of giving credit where credit is due and where its origins are. All right, so let's talk about what the heck are you going to get. You don't get a whole lot, but you get exactly what you need. You're going to get 4 gapped cards and a tutorial for this. And the tutorial is 21 minutes in length. Actually, it's 1 second shy of 21 minutes, but you're essentially getting 21 minutes of tutorial and 4 gapped cards. Now let's get into what I think is the critical, most important piece here in this product to release, and it's how are the instructions. I would have to say that I feel like 90% of the instructions here are excellent, perfect, they do the job. And then there's a small 10% that ugh, that was not as good as I would like it. So let's talk a lot about the positives first before I get into essentially the negative here. It's done by Penguin Magic. It's released by Penguin Magic. It's done in their studios. If you've ever received anything from Penguin done through the studios, you know that the quality is really good. You've got great sound. You've got great filming quality. You've got multiple camera angles. You're going to have in this one, you're going to have a straight on angle. You're going to have that also zoomed in when necessary. And then you're also going to get an over the shoulder or the performer's perspective as well. So you get to see what their perspective is on this, which I think is so nice, and I would love it for that to be a standard on every release out there if it was necessary for that. So from a technical point of view, really good. The other thing that I'll add that was exceptionally good, and that was the subtleties. that are taught by our Paul Wilson in this. Our Paul Wilson has been performing this for obviously at least a decade, I think, or as a variation of Ricochet. So it's something he's been working on for a long time. And it becomes clear that he has learned all the nuances of this trick, and you get that. And I think he does a really great job of going through what those are. Now the downside. The downside is that there is setup. Setup is so super easy. You could probably figure it out without doing or watching the tutorial, to be honest, once you sort of understand the mechanics and fundamentals here. However, there's a close-up on the hands for the setup, but it's from the straight-on camera, and I think it would have been better with an over-the-shoulder shot to really see the performer's perspective, because I had a hard time going orientation for a second, like, which orientation is he talking about? It would have been nice to see it from the performer's perspective, and maybe gone through that twice just to be really clear about orientation and what it looks like from the performer's perspective. Now, in the grand scheme, that's not a fatal flaw, not a critical flaw, just something that I thought would have made it better from an editing perspective. I thought our Paul Wilson did a nice job in the tutorial, but for me, visually, that would have been helpful. And that was my major problem with the tutorial. All right, so that's all I'm going to say about the instructions at this point. Let's talk about how is the gimmick. Well, they're USPC playing cards. And so you know that they're fine. There's no flaps or anything of that nature. And there's nothing that's custom made. They're simply printed cards. So they will last as long as printed cards last, depending on how much you do wear and tear on them. So there's nothing to break on them. So they're really great gimmicks. Can't complain. Some of you might already have some of these gimmicks already. Let's talk a little bit about what is the skill level. The nice thing about this is beginner skill level. You can be early on in your magic journey and be able to perform a real worker that the pros are using here. So that's one of the really nice aspects of this. There's no sleights here. If you can turn over cards, you can do this effect. And it's one of the things I think which is an improvement in this version is simplifying it and no difficult moves, no angle issues that really make it a great way to be able to focus on your performance and still from a beginner level show some really powerful magic. Skill level is beginner. All right, let's talk about sort of the pros of the things that I think, you know, if I were on that side of the lens, what I would like to know. And I would say this is simple to perform. It looks amazing and just it's a really strong visual change. I was going to say it's a packet trick. It's not really a packet trick. I would probably, well, not would probably, I'm going to just insert the 4 cards into my sort of everyday carry deck that I would have with me, and I'm ready to go the second I open up my card box and would pull out the 4 gaffs and the 4 aces, and I'm ready to go. So I like it from that perspective. It's nothing big and heavy. Yeah, you probably carry around a deck of cards with you already. And I mentioned earlier there's no slides, there's no angles on this. I would also add that in the performance you think, oh, I don't want to carry around a silk to be able to perform it. You don't need to be carrying around a silk to be able to do this. You just need something to be able to cover your action. So whether that's a table, it's people's hands, it's a menu, whatever it is, you'll be able to perform it. So don't feel like you have to be carrying a silk in order to do it. You can perform this standing or sitting based on whatever your preference is or your style or where you're performing at. Let's talk a little bit about the cons. I mentioned the con. The con is in the tutorial with the setup. Should have been done with an over-the-shoulder sort of performer perspective. When I think about it, I said, oh, 10%, 90% of this is good, 10% bad. Maybe it's 1% bad, so 99% good on this. All right, who's going to like this? Basically, I think anyone who loves close-up magic, anyone who likes magic should like this, to be honest. It's great for close-up, it's great for walk-around, great for bar magic, great if you just like to show your friends magic, it's perfect in that respect. There's no restrictions with clothing or any of that sort of stuff, no electronics, it's just straight-up cards and great card magic. It's probably not great for a parlor or larger group because it really is close-up oriented in terms of how it's performed. It's nice that it involves your spectators if you want. So it's got a lot of pros there that I think a lot of performers are going to like. All right, what does it cost? I'm glad you asked. So in the United States, it's $24.95. It's a Penguin release, so it's available through Penguin Magic. Now, at $24.95, and you get 4 gaff cards, and they're not like custom handmade gaffs, it feels a little bit expensive to me. Ideally, I think I would have liked to have paid $20 for it, given the gaffs that you get and sort of cost of production. And you know, these are all great. The packaging's fantastic. It probably adds some cost to it. But to be honest, it'd be great if they just put it in an envelope, send me the cards, and reduce the cost for it. But that's just not the way things work. Now, at $24.95, I do feel, from a value perspective, for me personally, this is now something I'm going to perform for the rest of my life. It's that easy to carry with me. And so over the course of a lifetime, something that's basically costing me $25 is a great value, considering I paid more money for tricks that I'll never perform and just go into the drawer or just not practical. This does not fall into this category. This is one for me that I think is really good, practical, easy to do, and from $24.95. Well, a little on the high side, 20 would have been ideal. That's my thoughts on there. All right, that's all I got for you guys today. I hope that's helpful. If you have any of those Ricochet, Backfire from the past, go ahead and let me know. Do you use them? Do you like them? Some of your own thoughts, pros and cons on it. If you purchased this, what you thought of the product, or maybe there wasn't something that I mentioned that would be great for the community to know, go ahead and leave that down in the comment section. I would really appreciate it. And look, it costs you nothing to like this or to subscribe. So if you haven't liked or you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Would love to have you as a regular follower here on the channel. All right, everyone. I'm FiddlinJonny, and remember to keep fiddling around with your magic. I'll see you guys all next time. Bye-bye.